Hey everybody, it's Josh. Just heading home and staying in a hotel. Wife and kids are out at a movie, so I wanted to share something that I've been kind of researching a little bit, and it's been pretty incredible. I wanted to know, Jesus fulfilled most of the prophecies from the Old Testament. This is something that's been studied relentlessly, but I also wanted to study if Jesus fulfilled any other prophecies from other religions or faiths or mythologies, or just if there was any other evidence that lined up to prove the godhood of Christ. Now, something I saw a while ago was the Chinese God, the monotheistic God. This was around 2500 BC. This was 2,000 years before any other Chinese religion, before Buddhism and all their other, agnostic or polytheistic religions. And they worshipped a god called Tian or Shangdi. And Shangdi was the creator of the world, the creator of everything, the creator of the universe. Now, Shangdi is not what I'm here to talk about, but I thought that was pretty incredible. If you read the story of Shangdi, it's like reading Genesis 1 about how he created everything. But something that was even more incredible that I found was something that happened at the time of Christ. And this was from the Han Dynasty. And the Chinese astronomers, according to NASA, were meticulous record keepers. They were just detailed in everything that they did. And they lined up perfectly to all the records and all the facts that NASA found. So it was a very, very good, reliable source. Now, in 5 BC, March 9th, there was a comet, and it seemed to appear out of a star, Altair. Altair. It lasted for 70 days. This was on March 9th, 5 BC it started, lasting for 70 days. They said, "We have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him," in Matthew 2:2. This was the wise men seeing the star and going to worship the new Lord. Now, the Chinese did not know anything about Christ. They were completely separated. The Romans had a little bit of trade with them, I'm sure, but Christianity had not spread at all. Just keep this in mind. So the star, the comet, went out, and we got to think that's when the wise men traveled following the star. They said it was a star, but it came out of a star. It was a comet, which would have been more impressive and more noteworthy for them to follow. But what really got my attention was in 31 AD. Now, first of all, we have geological records of a major earthquake at the Dead Sea. There were actually two major earthquakes. One was between 26 AD and one was between 32 AD, or 30 and 26 and 32, I believe. But in 31 BC, there was a major earthquake. 13 miles from Jerusalem in the Dead Sea. So keep this in mind. This was a completely separate source. Remember that the earthquake happened as soon as Christ died. But this was from the Chinese. Okay, this was 31 AD. And it said, summer, fourth month on the day of Renwu, the imperial edict reads, yin and yang have mistakenly switched, and the sun and the moon were eclipsed. The sins of all the people are now on one man. Pardon is proclaimed to all under heaven. That's from the Chronicles of the Emperor Gongwu in the 7th year. Now, they didn't know anything about Christ. The sins of all the people are now on one man. Pardon is proclaimed to all under heaven. How? This is from Chinese astronomers. Now keep this in mind. Now, this was another one that I saw from them later in 31 AD. Eclipse the day of Gui Hai, man from heaven died. This is incredible. So 3 days later, 3 days after this, after the man from heaven died, during the reign of Emperor Guangwu, on the day of Bing Yin, of the 4th month of Jianwu, and sorry for the mistranslations, a halo, a rainbow, encircled the sun. Now, this was incredible. This was evidence from the Chinese who knew nothing of Christ, evidence of everything it said in the Bible. Not only that, but we have geological records, and this was in livescience.com is where I found this, of the earthquake in 31 AD. Now, in the book of Matthew, it read that there was an earthquake and the sun was eclipsed, and the halo around the sun is just incredible. Now, this was something I found when researching the prophecies from other religions. Now, I considered, going into some of that now, but I'm not far enough along. But this was just something that I had to talk to you all about. And since I had an hour or two, I figured I'd get it all together. And I'm going to have more on this and try to tie it in with all the evidence that we have that is not from the Bible. Now, I understand that, from arguing with atheists and agnostics and people of other religions, they talk about how there's no outside sources, mentioning the miracles of the Bible. They believe in Christ. Most think he was a great teacher. There's very few that can find any fault with his teachings, and if they can, then they're just being intellectually dishonest, or they're just not good people, in my opinion. Because how could you find fault in the perfect man, in the perfect teacher, teaching you to love even your enemies? Now, unless you're some kind of psychopath who is just, like I said, just intellectually dishonest, then this will not happen. But to have Chinese astronomers saying that the sins of all people are now on one man, pardon is proclaimed to all under heaven. It shook me. I saw this when visiting my parents, and I watched this video with my father where I saw some of this, and I started looking into it more. And I just got chills. This is something I've been looking for a long time. I want to find every bit of evidence of Christ, even if it's not directly mentioning Christ. This is exactly mentioning these stories in the Bible. But, I was obviously did a lot of the things on atheism before I left for my vacation. And a lot of the things, a big problem the atheists have were that there was really only one source mentioning the miracles of Christ, the miracles that they supposed he did. But you're getting things from geologists, you're getting things from Chinese astronomers who knew nothing about Christ. You're getting things from all over the world. Obviously, the world was only so big that we knew of at the time, or that they knew of. So, having an advanced civilization like the Chinese and having a God who is Yahweh, who is Jehovah, in 2500 BC. And the records of it go back to another 2,000 years before that, which would make it, the Tower of Babel, where all the different races were divided, and they all started speaking different tongues, and they couldn't understand each other, so they just went separate ways. This would have been around that time. And then it was finally established and started getting records of it in 2500 BC. 2500 BC. So it's just simply incredible, these findings. And if any of you have any other outside of the Bible sources or events that you can point to, I would love to hear them, because this is something I've been working on and passionate about. And I really do think that, it's not really, I'm really horrible at these types of things, or I had been, but I feel it's something that God has been guiding me towards. And just to find these, to me, without a shadow of a doubt, the Chinese saying the sins of all people are now on one man, and they have pardoned him all under heaven. I mean, it brought tears to my eyes and brought me chills. I mean, I can't explain how great this discovery was, and why Christians aren't out touting this more. I mean, there's obviously only so much. Atheists are never going to believe us until they have their own calling, and I've accepted that, but I'm not. That doesn't mean we should ever give up. I understand how annoying it was having all the atheists flooding the comments and with their snarky little comments and everything, but this is proof. This is strong evidence, at least. I mean, you can never have proof, because they claim you have to have proof for something this miraculous. But, okay, so we have geological records. 31 AD seems to be the year of his death. Now, I know it's supposed to be 33 AD, but, the dates back then were not really kept as well. And the Bible was never meant to be in a historical archive, except for Paul. Now, Paul also proves, or gives strong evidence for the validity of at least his story, and that is because we have found many cities that were never even known about until Paul mentioned them, and then they were discovered. Some of them were discovered, I believe, like Galilee or something was discovered like just recently, it's a decade or a couple of decades ago. So, we've had Sodom and Gomorrah be discovered. We've had all kinds of biblical places be discovered that nobody knew about these places. It's not like they just made them up, and then all of a sudden, oh, well, we didn't know. If the Bible is all just fake gibberish, then how would they know about these places in detail? If they're giving detail about these places, why wouldn't they be giving detail about what happened with Christ? The disciples, the apostles, were willing to die for their belief. If they were advancing a lie, they would have folded when being tortured and put to death. But no, they didn't back down. They knew they were walking into almost certain death. And yet their faith was so strong, they just went right in. Just the kind of bravery that I hope that I could show one day. I really do. And I don't know if I can. I pray to God that I have that determination, that in the eyes of such evil and such violence, that I could just march right in and proclaim the grace and the love of Christ. All right, everybody, that's enough for now. I'm going to probably do another video or two, but this is enough on this subject, because I don't want to go into more until I do more research. But if anybody, like I said, if anybody has any details of any events or history that point to the validity of the Bible, please let me know. And if anybody knows any prophecies from, I know the Old Testament prophecies. I'm looking for prophecies outside of the Bible that Christ fulfilled. And I'm very interested in finding these. But if you would let me know, I would greatly appreciate it. I love you all. We'll talk to you soon.